Good morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine.
Welcome, everyone, to Morning Magazine for this June 1st, 2022. It is 10:06 on the clock, and you have your host, James J. Malouf here. Today, we are spending the entire hour with Wood County Sheriff's Department. We have not only Sheriff Sean Becker in, but his better half. We have Julie in with us. Well, but I wish you thank you both for being here. Thanks for being here, you guys.
Good morning. Always a pleasure.
We also want to thank Joe and our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media for being here. We always appreciate seeing you guys. Want to talk about a number of things today, but before I get to any of that, my romantic heart will not help I can help myself. Happy anniversary, you two. Congratulations. 31, I believe. Congrats. That's fantastic.
Thank you. It fell on the radio day, and I had to talk her into coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. First time
appreciate
in
that
studio, but we've been doing the show for many years, going back to even with Sheriff Riker started. We've continued the tradition, and it fell on our anniversary after 31 years, and it's an honor to bring her here to share the hour with.
Really do appreciate you being in. It's really nice to meet you. Thanks a lot for being here, Joe.
Yeah.
I know that we do have some business to get to.
Sure.
Before we get to all of that, though, how are you? How was your weekend?
Good. We had a good weekend. We didn't have a lot of things on our table, which was nice. We had a graduation party with our neighbors. And then we had some opportunity to spend some time with family out on the river, and we have a family cottage in Buren that
Nice.
We've been using quite often, as often as we can.
Yeah.
But that's another thing, a great family memory that her family got into many years ago, probably around 1999. Just fell into getting a place on the river, a cottage, and the memories that we've had. Boy, it's gone by really fast. It's since 99, but we had an opportunity to be out there with family, so that was nice. So overall, work, we did have some things come up, but overall it was a decent weekend as far as work wise. We did have an unfortunate incident with a shooting on Monday that our SWAT team had to come out and deal with an individual that did the shooting, but in the big picture of things, the victim's going to be okay, and the person was arrested without incident. And now let the legal justice system take its course. But overall, a decent weekend for us. Yeah.
Especially just looking a couple hours from here, the way it was over the weekend in some areas, that's a blessing.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's not to make light of the situations that did happen or anything, but it certainly can always be different, and that's a good thing for everybody.
Yeah, no, it was great weather. So, we had our boat patrol out during the weekend. The weekend of Memorial Day kicks off our part-time deputy program with all the parks. A really nice weekend. A lot of our parks are being utilized quite a bit. And we have that partnership with our parks department and our part-time unit that they get out. Their primarily, focus and duty, their job duty for our part-time unit during the summer is to patrol the parks, and not just think of it as patrolling, but just being out there, being available for either calls of service or just getting to know the people that are out camping and enjoying our parks. One of our lieutenants, Nathan Dean, came up with a community-oriented policing idea that came from his entire crew, where he set up where we can have more opportunities for not only his crew but other crews in our part-time unit to be out just getting and interacting with people and kids. That we've had countless stories of or situations where our part-time people and full-time people have just pulled over, got out and played basketball or kickball with some of the kids, whether they're from the area or not. They're just out, and they're in the public doing something besides the call of service. And this is an idea that he said, hey, let's do something more with this. Let's make sure that we're scheduling times, time frames out in the parks where we know it's busy and we can just be out on foot and just interacting with the people that are enjoying, our campgrounds.
For people who haven't heard about this program before, Sheriff, how long has this been going on, and what exactly are kind of the details of it?
It's just starting, and I'll have Lieutenant Dean come on the radio as well and explain it. But it's more of a thing where we're going to try to be out in the parks at specific times, interacting with people, throughout the whole summer.
Yeah.
But this is an idea that I didn't come up with. The staff did. which is great. One of the deputies brought up Bob Levy, and he says, hey, why don't we take a look at, setting some goals for our crew? And this is one that they came up with, and, his immediate supervisor, like I said, Nate Dean, and said, this is a great idea. We have a part-time program that's been in existence probably since the mid-'80s, maybe even earlier. And it's just it's a great opportunity, our part-time program, for people that are getting into law enforcement, and they could work as a sworn officer, get some experience, and then move on to a full-time position, whether it's with our department or another one. But we've got officers all over the country that started with our department part-time, and it's just a great program.
These programs that help kind of build the bridge between, the citizens and the work, the law enforcement, whether it's sheriff's departments, police departments, that kind of thing. All of them are vital and really important. And they've been going, there's ones that have been around since we were kids. I remember in high school, the ride along with a police officer day and that kind of thing. It's interesting to see that you guys taking it to another level of having your wife ride along with you. That's interesting. That's a whole different level to it. So no, it is. Though, in all seriousness, these kind of things really do pay dividends. Yeah. They really do. We've seen the stats of it. We've seen how much of a difference it makes. And man, today in this day and age, we need more and more of that.
Yeah. And that brings up, another thing that we can segue into. I was at a conference recently down in the Dells for treatment courts, and we talked about, our drug court that we have here in Wood County, that one of my great friends, Ed Zappin, was instrumental of getting, that pushed forward many years ago. Judge Zappin did that with, not by himself, with a lot of other people that saw that opportunity to move it forward. And treatment courts have become very, very popular, not just drug courts, but OWI courts, veterans courts, mental health courts. They're really expanding, not only just within our state of Wisconsin, but throughout the country. And what's been happening at this recent training that I went to is you're seeing some of the statistics that it's helping people, and that's information that we're bringing back to our team so people understand what treatment courts are about and what Wood County's had for a long time. People do make mistakes. Addiction doesn't choose that person. It's a very tough situation for that individual that's going through that addiction issue in their life, and a treatment court is an opportunity to help that person out. And once you see those statistics showing where they're making a difference, it's something that you bring back to your team so people can understand and believe in it more. And I'm looking forward to working, continuing to work with the drug court team and having our staff involved just with the whole program itself. The law enforcement role with treatment courts was kind of, I wouldn't say out of the box, but, where does law enforcement fit? Well, it's a huge fit. We're the eyes and ears out, in the community and seeing if there's a concern or issue with somebody that's, whether or not they're in treatment court or not, you're getting that information. Then we bring that back to, the treatment court team. So it's a big part of it. And then the other part of it too is, what was impactful about the training that I went through is seeing that the, other treatment courts throughout the state with connecting with the, that jurisdiction's law enforcement, the similar concerns, hey, we believe in it, because we're assigned to it. We work in the treatment court part of it, and we had members of our law enforcement team, sitting in this open discussion and okay, the belief's there, but then you want to get the whole team, your whole department to understand and believe in it. And then, just talking about ideas, how we can be a little bit more proactive, not just me as a sheriff or, the people that are assigned to drug court, but, no, you take it a step further where, you can have your patrol division, assisting just like with a curfew check. Right. And it's not to try to get somebody in trouble. It's just, hey, I'm stopping by. How are you doing? And you're having that officer doing it or that deputy doing it that now is starting to understand the program a little bit more, and you're having a positive contact with somebody that probably most of the time in their life has had a lot of negative contact with law enforcement. So there's a lot of, I think, opportunities
Yes.
for both sides of somebody going through drug court or a treatment court, and then law enforcement, getting the opportunity to have positive interaction with an individual that was suffering, that needed some help.
I know that this is just who you are as a person, but I appreciate that you put the time, the data, and all that into this subject. And I know I'm not alone in saying that. I'm echoing a lot of other people on that one. Because not every area has that in a person in your position. I appreciate that very much, but it makes me have to ask a question, and I'm not looking for details on this, and I am not looking to get you or anybody else in trouble. But I do have to ask, because we are in a political season, and you and I are going to talk a little about elections in a second here, but one of the things that we see from both sides of the aisle and a lot of people talking about is crime and what's the best way to kill crime. And you're seeing a lot of people talking about raising bail bonds and raising this and doing that and increasing sentences on jail times and stuff. How many times in your career have you had a politician ask you what would be the best thing to help bring crime down?
Good question. And you're right. Right now, with it being a political season or just starting that way, you have more people that want to be probably connected with law enforcement a little bit more. And it really doesn't matter what side you're on. I mean, the side is to keep the people safe.
Right.
And I can't tell you, law enforcement's role is, all right, if somebody makes a mistake and they get arrested, we take them to jail, then the legal justice system starts from there. And then that's where I think you look at, people are looking at a little bit more of the politics end of things. Well, why did this person get, a low signature bond, or why were they out? And I can't tell you. That's not my decision.
No.
It's up, and I'm not pointing a finger at anybody either. No. It's, hey, we put the information together, and then we forward it up to our district attorney's office. Then they work with, legal justice system judges, and then they agree to whatever bond that is. And we were having that discussion this morning about the incident I just talked about. Somebody got this amount of money for a bond, and whether you agree with it or not, I don't know how I can change that or how our department can change that. We can do our jobs and then let the legal justice system take it from there. Right. I can't tell you specifics why somebody would get a lower cash bond or a signature bond. That's not up to me. But you do have people with the time of the year. It's a political season, if you want to look at it that way. And people are bringing it up, and they're talking about it, and they're pointing fingers at both sides. I can
both
tell
sides
you that
are just as guilty of it. Yes,
it doesn't matter to me. I know where I stand, and the priority is to keep the community safe. Bottom line.
So what I'm curious about here is if we know if a person is going out there and just giving headlines, or if they actually are trying to do something and doing the homework and the data, or are they just Googling and getting a bunch of statistics or something like that. Because I think you hit on something really key to this conversation. If you really do want to do something with this, talk to the people who are actually in that world, who are actually doing that and going through it every day, day in, day out. Somebody like yourself has been doing it over multiple decades. I would think that your thoughts are vital and priceless when it comes to something like this. You are one of the only people that know what that world is like. Asking people like yourself, I mean, I'm not just talking about Wisconsin or even Wood County. I mean, in general, around the whole country. We should be going to our law enforcement agents and asking them a lot more about what we can do to make crime down, to do these things better. The fact that your guys' voice is not heard more often, it seems like we only bring up or ask when something tragic happens. We need to be talking to you guys all the time.
No, and I'll say this, take a look at the people that you're going to support, be involved. That's awesome. And number two, look at the people that you are going to support and see what kind of follow through they do. If they do get elected in office, now when they said something, did they follow through with that? Yeah. You're hearing some candidates, saying that, we're going to add extra cops. We're going to be doing this or that. All right. If you get in that spot, I would hold you, accountable to that. Because if you don't, then I wouldn't support you, ever again. People do make promises and just see what they can do to follow through with that.
I'm going to offer free ice cream on Thursdays. You don't get your ice cream on Thursday, I shouldn't be reelected. It's not that.
Very, very fair point right there.
Speaking of elections, I know that you have a re-election coming up.
Yeah, it's came down again. When Julie and I talked 4 years ago, and 4 years went extremely fast. We decided as a team that we would get involved, and it worked out. We got elected, and then all of a sudden here we are again. We sat down, we discussed it. I don't think there was any any way that we wanted to do anything different, and we decided that we will seek re-election. And we did get a considerable amount of signatures for nomination papers. I turned them in yesterday, and I just want to thank everybody that has supported us, in the last 4 years, and then just especially the last couple months when we decided that we're going to move forward and seek re-election, and then the help of circulating, papers to get signatures. I was really taken back at how many people just came up and said, "Yeah, I'll go out and get some signatures for you," and that meant a lot for us. I mean, it's a lot of work, not just on the political end of the thing, but the position itself, and then you got to do both.
Yeah.
And the help and support that we received from so many people on our team, going beyond just us, is very humbling. And we're moving forward. So the first step was getting nomination papers in. I did that yesterday and turned them in to our county clerk, Trent Miner. Does an awesome job, and so we're moving forward with that. And thank you to Julie. This was a process that, like I said, it went by very fast. 4 years ago when we decided that we would get involved, and then here we are again already talking about it, and it still fits for us, in our lifetime. I still love doing this job.
Yeah.
I love being a law enforcement officer, wearing this uniform pretty much every day of that I come to work, and then the support. If I didn't have the support from my family or Julie, I wouldn't be moving forward with this. I'd be thinking of doing something else. But we're not ready to throw the towel in. We've got a great team at the department, and we've accomplished a lot of things. I'll bring up the jail. Shortly after taking office, that wasn't my idea. And I'm not trying to point a finger at anybody else, but the more we dug into that concern and working with our county board, we needed to do something. There's a lot of needs for that project. And I always talk about out-of-county housing costs, but there's a lot of other costs there that people don't see. But that project's moving forward. Did I think that we'd ever get there in my career? No. Even talking with people that I've worked with for many, many years, we never thought that we would see that project move forward. And when you talk, over 20 years ago, that was a big topic of discussion for this community, for this county. Yeah. And at that point, it wasn't the right time. But I don't know if there's ever going to be a right time, but it is in a sense. I mean, you can't keep putting it off. And I really commend our county board for the approach that they took with this and the research they did. Things came together, and we really ran out of options.
When I was first reading that press release about the jail being announced that it had gone through, it had been passed and everything, and they were going to do this, the first thing I thought of was over at City Hall, the metal detectors being put in and everything. Mm-hmm. And I love that our community didn't wait for something bad to happen before they did that. They played offense, not defense. Mm-hmm. I feel very similar with the jail. Well, now, we've already had some tragedies at the jail over the decades that it's been around and everything, very unfortunately. But it isn't come to something really horrible or what have you or anything. We're trying to get ahead of this. Maybe we should have done it years ago. Who knows? Who's to say? Today is what matters. And going forward, that area, jail itself, not even if you don't care about the people that are incarcerated in there, our officers are going to be a lot safer. They are going to be. And that part I would like to think everybody can agree on.
No, I totally agree. And the courthouse security thing was another thing that was brought up, shortly after taking office. Like, we knew we needed to do something. What do we want to do? We looked at options of, maybe contracting it out. Where some courthouses do that, and I was against that because we have a good team. We can definitely provide, the safety of the community and the employees that work in that building, and it's worked out great. Brian Peterson, who oversees the program, is just doing an outstanding job. And with the rest of the team down there, we really, again, going back to the county board, made a great decision. I know it was an adjustment for everybody when you had free roam of coming in and out of the building. Well, now it's, hey, this was a need, and we got there, and again, it's worked out really well. And that was another a teamwork approach. It wasn't anything that decision that I made on one day or, hey, we're going to do this. No, it was something that we all worked together on, and it's going well, very well.
And just to kind of go back to the re-election for a second, I've been doing radio for about 22 years this year, and the majority of that has been in this area and specifically in Wood County. And if there's a couple of things I have learned and I love about this area and this community is that if you're doing something people don't like, they're going to tell you. Mm-hmm. But when you're doing something they like, they are going to have your back. They are going to support that. And as far as your reelection goes and everything, that is a key part of why you got those signatures and all those things. Because we appreciate what you're doing. We appreciate you putting yourself out there like you have, not just physically, but even mentally, as you do here on the air sometimes with us and some of the subjects we touch on and everything. From the moment I met you, you've been transparent. I know that is a huge part of why they want you in that position again. A lot of the community, not speaking for everybody, but just I got to say that is very appreciated no matter what happens. We very, very much appreciate everything you have done.
Well, thank you, James. We appreciate that.
I do want to go to break. Before we do that, though, I did want to let the audience, remind the audience again to keep up on things with our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Do great work. If you get a chance, especially if you have a YouTube subscription, go to YouTube, type it in, subscribe, and keep up to date on all the great work that they're doing over there. We'll mention that again before we wrap up the show today. Right now, we'll go to a quick commercial break, come back, and we'll have more Morning Magazine coming up for you right here on WFHR.
Good morning, and welcome back to The Morning Magazine. It's time for part 2.
Welcome back, everyone, to Morning Magazine for this June 1st, 2022, 10:30 on the clock. You have your host, James, here. We're joined by the Wood County Sheriff's Department. We have Sheriff Sean Becker in here, along with Julie Becker. Mm-hmm. And we also want to wish a good morning to our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, Joe and the gang over there. Appreciate you guys being here. So we were talking a little bit during the break here, and it's interesting that you bring your better half in today, because I was thinking about this with your reelection, and all the conversation and all the things that have to go on behind the scenes between you two and your family to make a call like that. Yeah. To make a decision to do something like this. And then it got me thinking, going down that rabbit hole of, well, back in the early beginnings of your guys' relationship, mm-hmm. and you even deciding to go into law enforcement and having that conversation. Because as you and I have talked about on air, off air quite a bit, one of my jobs, I feel, is to humanize you, our representatives that we have in, other people. And if there ain't something that isn't relatable in this world, it's somebody you love sitting at home and somebody you love being out there in the world and not knowing what can happen and what can go on. And I don't think that we get this opportunity very often to see inside that very often. And I don't want to dive too deep, and I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, Julian.
Please do it.
I mean, you get me in trouble, man. But I do want to take advantage of the opportunity we have here and to share that with people, because not only do we need to create more empathy in this world, but it also is just an interesting input or an insight into that world.
Yeah, no, starting, our relationship goes back just a couple of years. No, I was 16, and Julie wasn't much older than me, and we are, just our relationship started with our parents. We're next door neighbors, and my mom and her mom sold real estate together, and then we started to hang out socially. In fact, I was more of a friend at the time to her brother than Julie, but just from there, once we got to high school, and we started dating, and went to UWSP. She was a couple years ahead of me, and she's a teacher by trade. And so I followed to UWSP, and wanted to play football, wanted to be a Phi Ed teacher initially, but then the second calling came, and that was this. And I remember, I was a senior in college, and Julie was already out of school teaching, and I got an internship with the Stevens Point Police Department, and most of that time was doing ride-alongs during weekends and stuff like that, where I'd be, riding along. And at that point, that's where the passion came for me for the career. Just to get that opportunity to get that experience, and that's where the support started. It really did, not only from Julie but her family. And it's like, okay, what's the next step in life? What do you want to do professionally? And we wanted to stay in central Wisconsin because we did have family here, and it was tough. That was probably really, really hard for us, because it was extremely competitive in the early 90s to get into a law enforcement agency in central Wisconsin. It was like they were only hiring people that had numerous years of experience, like from the Milwaukee area or something like that. So fresh out of college and recruit school, you only had a 2-year time frame to get hired somewhere. And so here I'm putting applications out, and that became stressful because the reality came for us that we're probably going to have to move. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to stay around here. We already had one of our kids, Jordan, and you have the family support here. It makes life a lot easier. But we reality set in, and that was a tough relationship decision for us to make, to say, okay, I'm putting applications out to get a job somewhere for, hey, I found my calling, but we're probably going to have to make some sacrifices and move. And we wound up moving down to the Sauk City, Prairie du Sac area, where I got my first law enforcement job, and we picked up and moved down there. Anything to add to that?
No, I think initially when you wanted to go into law enforcement, I was a little hesitant, kind of a little scary. And we, like you said, we had a baby, and of course when you're young, it's nights and weekends and holidays. Their birthdays, you're called out. I can name numerous, so could the kids. Birthday parties, but that's what the job was. And then going to second shift, we thought would be better, but actually when you have young kids, that's even harder. He'd try to come home for dinner. If he did make it, the radio usually went off. But in all, it's been worth it, and he totally enjoys it, and he's good at it, and it's his calling.
I mean, it's first up, you guys just made my day because I'm a foolish romantic. So hearing your story and all that, I've loved every second of that. But getting back to, I got to do my job here. So I got to say, what I appreciate so much of you sharing that, Julie, is us being able to see a little bit more into that world. I think that we've seen TVs, movies, we've heard some other conversations and everything, but we don't really know until we hear from actual people that have lived it and living with it, and let alone over multiple years and decades really doing that. And I imagine, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I imagine it's not something that you ever really get completely used to. And so we talk about the sacrifice and everything that our officers put on the line every second that they are on the job. I want everybody, the next time that you are thinking about those things, to think about the other people that are also doing that. The people like Julie, the families, your Jordan, all these people that are so in. They might as well be out there with these officers because you're carrying it in their heart, they're carrying it on their soul, their mind, and everything. And I have nothing that it can relate to that necessarily. I've had loved ones in tough situations. We all can experience that. I don't know what it's like to every time my loved one is going on the job. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a good or a bad day. And that's something that it's so hard, I think, for people to wrap their hearts around. Not their minds, their hearts around. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I don't mean to put you guys on the spot, especially on your anniversary. I feel like a jerk.
No,
but I appreciate it so much because these are the things we need to be sharing with people, creating this empathy, creating these bridges more and more with our community and our law enforcement. I don't know about anybody else, but I like Westerns as movies. I don't want to live the Old West. I don't want to go back to that or anything. We need our officers. We need these people, and we need support towards them. Yeah. The idea that we can do this without our officers or anything like that is ridiculous, and it's not going anywhere. I think we can all agree that it is something that not only do they need more backing, they need correct backing. They need smart backing. It is not just a tagline to try to get you reelected, support the blue or anything like that. What are you doing to support the blue? How are you supporting the blue? And how are we as a community doing that? And vice versa, same thing. Yeah. If you have an issue with the blue, well, what are you doing about that issue? How are you bringing that attention to your departments and everything, and talking about it with them and trying to make it work? We got to get past this whole barking at each other thing and getting nothing done. I don't know about anybody else, but I would like this last school shooting to be the last. I would like us to be able to get over this numbness that we have towards this and everything, where enough is enough. And that is going to take every American citizen. That is not something where we can point the finger, it's this fault, it's that fault. Every one of us, this is on all of us. And the way we get these things done is by talking about these things, is by creating a better communication.
Yeah, terrible tragedy down in Texas. And, it's, what more do you say besides that? I don't have words for it besides, I feel terrible for everybody involved. And, it's a harsh reminder of reality and what we live in sometimes, and it's tough.
There's no quick fix to any of this stuff. The only way to get to that fix is to talk, is to have open communication, not yelling at each other, not acting like kids in a sandbox, but actually having a real dialogue and conversation. I think what helps that conversation is having details like you guys just shared and going forward, and that with all conversations. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
And
happy anniversary, by the way.
Well, had an opportunity to speak up in Marshfield at a law enforcement ceremony a couple weeks ago, and part of my speech and what was most important is just talking about a poem and how important the family is at home. You have to, as a law enforcement officer, that's your foundation. And you have to, that's number one. And then to put it back to the community, remember, it's I always enjoy hearing from somebody, hey, thank you for your service. And that's been going on for, quite some time. But, as a community member, take it a step further. When you see a law enforcement officer, in uniform at their son or daughter's baseball or softball game, and, they stopped on duty just to, hey, I want to take the opportunity to watch, my child, compete, thank their family, because that support means the most for us. Because you lose that foundation, then what do you have?
Right.
But that support and is number one.
Yeah, I imagine it means more than we could really word. Yeah.
Yeah, when you come home, you do have tough days, and it could be a tough day for the smallest reason in the world, or it could be a really hard day. I've struggled in my career. There's no doubts, and she knows it. Where there's been some really, really tough situations that that I've had to deal with, and a lot of it has come down to the team. When somebody else is struggling, how do you try to fix that?
Right.
And I've talked about that with her, and it's like, you only can do so much. But that's her. Hey, but there's been a lot of awesome moments too. This career has gone by way too fast. We started off by talking early 90s. Well, how long ago was that?
Right.
Yeah, but it's gone just by. And it's moving just so fast.
Yeah.
Just looking at 15 years ago where we were, and the position that I would have had at that time, being an investigator and going through that struggle, because that was a hard one for me. The hours were great. Julie had talked about, hey, I was on 3 to 11, and that might be personally great for me because I get home, usually a little late, but I was home by midnight, and got up. The kids have gone to school. Hey, I got the whole day.
Right, yeah.
I'll go work out. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Well, I'm working. And then I go to work.
Over there, Julie.
Yeah, so it realized, but then that came to a moment where there was an opportunity as an investigator, promotion, and I'm like, I don't know if I like investigations. I was one that liked to come in, do my job, and then at the end of my shift, be pretty much done with everything.
Yeah.
And that was a hard adjustment because investigators, you always have something on your plate, and you're dealing with victims, and at tough moments, whether it's a theft. A victim of a theft that's personal, and very upsetting when somebody steals from you, and you want to do your best to figure out who did that, and then working, cases, all the way up to homicide, which, then you really talk and deal with the victim's family and the tragedy that they're going through. It was a tough adjustment, excuse me, for me, and she knew it, and it really took not only her support to keep moving forward with it, but then, the other mentors that I had that, said, no, this is how the position is. You got to be able to turn it off when the day is done and be ready for the next day. And that was extremely helpful. Like my best mentor at the time was Ted Wetterow, a detective from Rapids PD, and those strong working relationships I knew existed, but amongst detectives and investigators throughout, other law enforcement agencies, it's one team, because a lot of the things that you deal with, they're dealing with. Might even be the same case, and that interaction is always there, and that strong working relationship was something that just continued to build upon, and then having that mentorship just to get you through that. Having Julie there, it's like, okay, and it took me a few months to adjust to it, but my career, that was one of the tough ones, and I was very fortunate to have strong people around me to get me through it.
Appreciate the conversation, you two. Thank you. We'll take our final break, just a minute break. I'll get that out of the way, come back, and I want to talk about the Memorial Day celebration that you had. We'll talk about that and more here on Morning Magazine coming up on WFHR. The morning's on WFHR with Morning Magazine here. We're talking with Wood County Sheriff's Department. We have Sheriff Sean Becker in, along with Julie Becker, and both appreciate you guys being here, and Joe and our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. We were talking about good days and bad days on the job. It seemed like a bit of a melancholy, little bit of a mix this weekend with the Memorial Day celebration.
Yeah, you don't want to forget what Memorial Day is all about. It's the people that served our country and gave us their life. They did the ultimate sacrifice, and I think sometimes people forget that. And we had a Memorial Day celebration, an honor last Friday in front of the courthouse, where we did that. We honored the people that made that ultimate sacrifice, and we also did something else too. We had an idea a few years ago with the memorial in front of the courthouse of doing something for the people that not only served in the military, but they continued their service to our community here in Wood County. They worked at the Sheriff's Department, either as a corrections officer or a deputy, something along those lines. And we started really doing a lot of research the last 6 months. And like I said, it was an idea about 2-3 years ago that I felt really fit out in front of the courthouse. And then starting to look at, I knew working at the Sheriff's Department for as long as I have, that I knew there were a good handful of veterans, and currently we have several veterans working for us. And so I'm like, hey, is there an opportunity, or is there somewhere that we could put a memorial out in front of the courthouse? And there was. There was a large stone that on one side said something about the whole memorial, and the other side was blank. And the committee that oversees the memorial agreed that would be a good idea, and they helped with the research, going back many years, finding retirees that served and got those names. So we came up with 45 names of people who are currently working at the Sheriff's Department, and then people in the past that have retired. And like I said, a lot of Nancy Quick on the committee did a lot of work. Tom and Ellen Sox did. Diantha Neinfeld. It was a team effort of, hey, here's the people I know. Who do you know? Going back, and how many people that knew relatives of somebody that worked here that have passed on. And just to get that history to come back. And so once the research was completed, letters were sent out to people that were going to be doing this dedication during the Memorial Day celebration, or honoring the people that did that or gave their life for us so we can enjoy the freedom that we have now. And it came together really well. We got to recognize not only the people that have passed, but some of the people that served at those two levels, and a lot of them were there. And it was an honor to see them. Quite a few of them I worked with, and to see some of them, just the family members that came up and said thank you. Just to see their loved one's name on that stone, something that will be there forever.
Yeah, I mean the family, the loved ones of those people that are on there, they're thinking about those people all the time, and it's got to be nice for them to know that they're not alone in that others are thinking of them too and appreciating what they did.
Yeah, and as we continue to hire veterans, we'll continue to add names, and the research is still going on. I know there's a few names that were missed that I'm sorry, but those names will go on, and we'll have more of a dedication to the people that we'll be adding on Veterans Day. But it'll be an ongoing project that we'll have, and we'll have that filled up, and with honor to see the people there. Like I said, getting the opportunity to see people that have given their a good portion of their life to Wood County to come back and just to see that, they came there to be honored, and they deserve it.
Yeah.
They really do. I mean, you put so much time in the military, and you come back, and then you continue your calling to serve others, and that's what what we do, and that's proud. I'm not a veteran. I wish I was, so I could say that.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of really great folks that have served on both levels.
And we can never appreciate them enough. These things kind of, there's just ways of kind of building to that ultimate appreciation that we try to give. It's really cool that it was able to happen. But again, I know it's a bit of a mixed bag, because I'm sure that you guys were working really hard on this and passionate about it. It's nice to have it up, and at the same time, it's not I was talking with a couple of vets last week about this. That when you hear people say Happy Memorial Day, and it's like, that's not, we can do happy another time. This is
That's what Veterans Day is for.
Right, right.
Memorial Day is about honoring those that gave us their life so we can be sitting here talking today.
Yeah, and it's important to be able to really have these distinctions, because not only is it good that we, President's Day, they lump a couple of presidents together or that kind of thing. Like, that's okay for that. This is one of those things where we need key days to have key appreciation for these things.
Yeah.
Having something like that up there at City Hall, that's something where it feels like every day we can have some appreciation. Every day that you walk past, I know for me, anytime I walk past that, I'm going to be looking at those names, especially when new names are added.
Yep.
Very similar to another thing that I really give this area and areas like it a big shout out with the Veterans Day or Memorial Day celebrations of having the things on the lampposts and stuff around town of sold. I love that. That is wonderful. I couldn't see it. I do like that they have it in streets that you're going like 2025. So I'm not going to, my speed limit, keep an eye on that really well.
Right.
I encourage people to walk around town and look at those. And just, even if you're just saying those names in your own head, that right there is a good start, is a great thing to be able to do.
Yeah, and they're from here.
Yeah. It's important.
No, I appreciate you bringing it up. It was a nice opportunity or a nice thing to be part of. And again, it's humbling to see the people that worked here to come back and feel welcome. And then just to see family members come up and just talk about the years of service that their loved one had at the sheriff's department. Going back to one conversation, somebody lived on the grounds back in the day. The sheriff and his family, his or her family, would live on grounds, and the sheriff's spouse would do the cooking for the inmates. I don't know if you're up for that.
Wow.
That would just be amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, you're a good cook, so I think it probably go over well for some people. But But anyway, I mean, just to hear some of those conversations, and then they wanted a tour of the facility of what it is now, and that sparked conversations of the direction that we're going as a county. But it was a great event to honor the people that, again, gave their life for us.
Yeah. And we don't get to see you in that hat very often. What do we think of the hat, Julie? What do we do? I thought he was rocking. I thought it looked good on him. I thought it looked good. I'm trying to find a light way to end the subject. I apologize. But
Well, it covers this spot, so that was I didn't get any sunburn, so it worked out.
Hats do have an advantage in that. We also had Officer of the Year that we wanted to talk about.
Glad we can get to that. Deputy Alicia Brundage was named the CIT Officer of the Year by NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. We've talked about mental health and, our department's stance on this. And this is the second time that we've been recognized by NAMI. Doug Christensen was a CIT Officer of the Year a few years ago. And then, we nominated Alicia this year, and just honored to say that she was selected. I mean, she's competing against, if you want to call it that, I mean, she's serving against or serving with law enforcement officers throughout the entire state. This is an award that's been going on for several years, and I'm very proud of her and the work that she's been doing, with Doug and for our community, going above and beyond. Quite honestly, if we get a mental health call to service where somebody's struggling, she volunteers for it. And we'll go there and work with that individual and do her best to help that person through that crisis, that moment, and then working with the other stakeholders, getting the information to them so the right decisions are being made for or to help that person. She's just a great person to work with, and she's also not only with the community but within our organization. We have a peer support group that she's part of. So what she does along with Doug, and other people that are part of this program, they'll look through our complaints, and if there's a particular call that would jump out that we went to, that it was a sudden death or something, a bad car crash, just following up with that deputy and people on scene. How are you doing? And not just that next day, but a week later, because it's something you don't forget. And just being there as a listener and being proactive with our team, and how important it is for our mental health. She just goes above and beyond. So I'm really happy that NAMI recognized her. I'm proud of her. And she's doing an awesome job for her team. And this is just a great way for her to be recognized.
Our community appreciates her and is very proud of her.
Yeah.
That's really cool, and I appreciate you sharing a lot of that. I don't think a lot of us knew some of those details and some of the kind of viewpoint that she's in with some of this, where it's not just citizens, but you guys that she's also talking with and helping and everything. That is really impactful.
Yeah, no, great to have her part of our team.
And a big congratulations to her again. And I did want to touch on something else before we let you go. Click It or Ticket is going on.
Yep.
May 23rd through June 5th is National Seatbelt Enforcement Mobilization. Just like to put that out there to everybody, just to remind them. Hopefully you don't need the reminder, but just in case you do, it is important. And it's not just important on the roads, but on the water as well.
Yeah, no, it's a great thing to bring up. Click Our Ticket's been going on for many, many years. We've been combining with, the other law enforcement agencies all participate in this. So we got extra people out on patrolling and looking for those violations. And you're right, it's pretty simple to put a seatbelt on, isn't it?
It's a lot easier to put a seatbelt on than to pay a fine for not having your seatbelt on, or to tell somebody, your buddies or your significant other, I have this fine I have to pay because I didn't take 5 seconds to put this little plastic, this little thing of leather or cloth or whatever over me. Yeah.
So that's going on right now for the dates you mentioned, and getting into the boating. That's a huge recreational thing for around our area, and same with UTV. UTV and ATV stuff is rapidly expanding. You're seeing in our county a lot of the roads being posted where you can't ride. A lot of the county highways are going to be opening up very soon, but you're seeing our highway department doing an awesome job of getting all the signage out where you can't be. So make sure if you're enjoying that recreational opportunity, you're on the route system. All right. Once everything opens up, things will be there'll be a press release on that through either the highway department, the parks department, the sheriff's department, or probably a combination that, hey, here's our route system. A plug for Matt Souza. I know he's been on the show before, but he's overseeing all of our recreational programs that we have enforcement in, snowmobile, UTV, ATV, boating. He's been working not only with our county highway department, but all the townships. It seemed like a lot of the township, years ago opened up, but we want to make sure that we get a route system, or at least what's open and what's not, so people can understand that. But that's a very popular thing right now. I know Grand Rapids is going through opening up some of the roads, and that became quite a hot topic for probably the last year or two. Now they're at a point where they're going to open up some of the roads, so a lot of that's still evolving. But no, the recreational part of things, it's recreational. It's the opportunity for us to do some fun things,
Right.
But remember the safety. There's a lot of safety things, boating, life jackets, even with the UTV stuff. Hey, there's seat belts in there too. Just know the rules of the road and do it and enjoy it safely.
These things are privileges we have.
Correct. And
we don't want to lose them. We want to take, keep them and have fun with them and everything. And the only way to do that is to be safe about it, be smart about it. Mm-hmm. We got about just wanted to wrap up because we're getting to the top of the hour here. But Sheriff, if anybody has follow-up questions or want to know a little bit more about some of the things we've talked about today or anything, is there a way to reach you?
Yeah, just give me a call at the Sheriff's Department, 421-8715, and ask for me.
And I want to remind everybody to, of course, also go to your YouTube page and your Facebook and type in there Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, like and subscribe to those and keep up to date on the great work that they're doing over there. Appreciate you, Joe, and the gang. And thank you, Julie, so much for coming in. It was really nice to meet you.
Same.
Thanks. And always appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, you too. Happy
Looking
anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary, you two.
Thank you.
Happy 30. God, that's so wonderful. Happy anniversary, you two. Be listening.